It's been said the longer you're married, the harder it gets.
But we'll talk with the guest who has learned how to make marriage easier. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to this edition of Living a Godly Marriage. I'm your host, Melvin Greene.
And I'm your co-host, Voncille Greene. Tonight, our very special guest is Arlene Pellicane. She's a speaker, host of the Happy Home podcast, and author of several books, including Parents Rising, Making Marriage Easier, Screen Kids, which she co-authored with Dr. Gary Chapman. Arlene has also been featured on popular media outlets, including The Today Show, Fox and Friends, Focus on the Family, Family Life Today, The 700 Club, and The Wall Street Journal. She's also the spokesperson for National Marriage Week. Welcome to the show, Arlene.
It's so fun to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Well, before we get started and talking about the book, what is the National Marriage Week?
I'm so glad you asked. Sometimes there will be like a National Ice Cream Day, right? It's like celebrate ice cream and go get a scoop of ice cream. So National Marriage Week is every year between February 7th and 14th, so leading up to Valentine's Day. It's National Marriage Week, and this is a campaign to help society say marriage is really good for society. It's a resource to give marriage resources to people who are married to strengthen their marriages. And we really want to make marriage attractive to the next generation. So at marriageweek.com, you find all sorts of resources. And usually the week of National Marriage Week, there are a lot of live stream events you can watch for free, teaching about marriage from people like Dr. Gary Chapman. So it's a great, every year, it's a time to celebrate marriage between February 7th and 14th.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. We wanted to find out more about that before we get into talking about the book.
So tell us, why did you write the book, Making Marriage Easier?
Because you don't want to make it harder, right? You want to make it easier. So the idea is, many of us, we are making marriage harder without realizing it, either by not putting in any effort or by repeating the same mistakes over and over again, or maybe thinking it's really complicated when really it's just a very small change that would make your marriage closer. So as long as we are committed to that marriage relationship, which is something created by God, something that we want to commit to.
Yes.
If we know we're going to be married to this person for the rest of our lives, why wouldn't we want to look for ways to get along better and understand one another better and thus make marriage easier? So that's where the title comes from. My husband and I have been married for 27 years and just kind of were thinking back on what are the things that made it easier and put those things in the book. And a lot of it, is specific and planning. So for instance, if you say, I'm going to exercise, well, that's nice. But unless you sign up for a class and put out your tennis shoes and maybe get an exercise partner, you're probably not going to do it. So the same thing with marriage, we can say, let's have a better marriage. But unless we realize, oh, okay, we're going to read this marriage book together, or we're going to go on a getaway next year. So what is it that we can do that's very action oriented, and that really helps it to be easier?
Right, right. And the book focuses on 4 decisions a couple needs to make. What are those 4 decisions?
And I have a feeling there are ones that you have made in your marriage. The first one is to play by the rules, to understand there are ground rules to marriage, obviously the rules of covenant and what we find in God's word to follow, but just the things that make you as a couple special, that maybe you say, we're not going to insult one another in public, and that's one of our rules. So to play by those rules, because if you're in a game and there are no rules, And one day you win a
Mm.
point a certain way, but the next day you do some of the same thing, but you don't get a point. That's very confusing. So for marriage clarity, play by those rules, use those boundaries. So play by the rules. And then the second one is to give thanks every day, that
Yes.
instead
Mm.
of being like, well, you used to do that, and if only you would do this like so and so spouse, or you don't appreciate
Mm.
me, but instead we look for the gratitude. I'm so glad that you've stuck with me all these years. I'm so
Yes.
glad that you take care of the taxes. That's what I thought about for my husband. I'm just so
Yes.
glad I don't have to
Yes.
deal with that for the most part. Just look for those things you're thankful for and don't slide into a complaining, grumbling spirit. And the third decision is to give so let's see, so that's so to serve one another,
Oh,
and we
That's
live in
right.
a culture that says, what have you done for me lately? And
Correct.
if you are no
mhm.
longer making me happy, then maybe this is not the right relationship with me, for me. But the real question is, hey, how can I become more like the Lord? And he is a servant, and in his economy, being a servant is a promotion, not a demotion.
Yes.
Moses is a servant of God. Joshua is a servant of God. Abraham is a servant of God. When you are God's friend, you are his servant. And the more
Yes.
we can,
Yes.
obviously, marriage is an amazing place to daily practice. How can I serve my spouse? And it's not about being a doormat. It's not about losing yourself. It is about having the disposition. How can I help you today? And then the last decision may sound out of place around these very serious decisions, but it is to take fun seriously, to have fun
Yes.
together. Because if you stop having fun, the glue kind of just starts unraveling and you become, it's easier to get mad at each other. It's easier to drift apart. So the fun that brought you together, it actually needs
Hmm.
to be part of the marriage
Yes.
equation, not just saved for when the kids are finally out of the house, or when we finally have enough money saved, or when we finally go on vacation. You cannot wait that long or else, it's all business. So just simply ask your question, when was the last time we had fun together? And if it takes you a really long time to answer that question, then maybe it's time to schedule something.
Yes.
Right. Boy, those are four important decisions. So let's go back and go over them one
Yeah.
by one.
So play by the rules. Would you talk about that a little bit more,
Yes.
please?
One of the rules that we found very early in our marriage was to eat dinner every day together. Now, for
Yes.
those who are listening, it could be breakfast, it could be lunch, but the idea is your body has this wonderful internal clock that makes you eat every day. And why not do that with your spouse and use that time to connect? And my husband had this really strange request when we were first married. He asked if we could not have a television in the house for the first month of marriage, saying
Wow.
that I want us to spend time together and not just like stare at the TV, etc. So that was very strange to me, because at the time I was working as a television producer. It was like, why would we do that? And what we found was, wow, this really quality time took hold. And then when the experiment was over, we realized, oh, we don't want that background noise on all
Yes.
the time. So obviously things have changed a lot in the last 26 years. And it's not just the television, it's your phone, it's your tablet, it's your computer, it's
Yes.
YouTube. It's way more than ever. So I think a really good rule is protect your mealtime, have a daily meal together. If that can't happen, then as much as your work allows you to do that, have that meal together and make it screen free. That there are no screens, maybe some music in the background, but that's it. Nothing that you're looking
Yes.
at, no device in your hand. Really connect. And if you will make that a rule of your marriage and make that the
Mhm.
norm, you will then have these daily connections instead of feeling like, oh, I didn't talk to you for 4 days and I feel completely separated from you. Or I'm sitting with you at
Disconnected.
dinner, right? And we're both on the phone and we're not even talking to each other. So this is not a young person problem, right? You can attest to this. It could be a problem of a 2-year old or a 85-year-old. The technology does not discriminate, and it's getting us all.
That's an excellent rule. And one thing
Yes.
I've noticed when we go out to dinner, how many couples are actually looking at their cell phones and not talking to
Yeah.
each other or with each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were at dinner recently. I said, look, Voncille, they are communicating. They're texting to each
Each
other.
other. Right. Right. It's like,
But
there is a
Right.
better way. There is a better way. This is when
Right.
progress is not adopting more technology. Progress is saying, oh, we don't need that right now and putting it
Right.
away.
Right.
Right. In fact, let me share a rule that we agreed upon
Please.
earlier in our marriage. That is, now she's one of 14, and so
Oh,
she
wow.
has a lot of brothers and sisters.
Yes,
And
Voncille.
so
So fun.
Yeah.
so we decided, or we set a rule that if I'm having problems with anyone on her side of the family,
Yeah.
that I would talk to her and
Mhm.
she would talk to them. And
Yes.
if she was having a problem with anyone on my side of the
Yes.
family, she would let me know and
Yep.
I would talk with them.
Yes.
And that has really, over the years, that has
Mm.
really helped us a
Mm.
lot.
It saved a
Yeah.
lot of heartache, didn't it? And a lot of
Oh, yeah.
like things getting bigger than they needed to get.
Yes. Yes.
Right, right. And each of us kind of practice and said it the right way, the right tone, and the right
Yes.
words.
That's good.
Okay, continuing with the play by the rules area of what happens in a marriage when a couple doesn't talk about difficult subjects.
Yeah.
And what are a couple of those subjects?
Yeah. This is so easy to do. You know, it's sex, money, weight, like do not talk about health or like what put the cookie down, don't talk about stuff like that. So there are certainly, you know, all these, you know, I think those are a lot of them that come up.
Hmm.
And to make it in your marriage that you are a safe person to talk to, that the
Yes.
spouse
Yeah.
could bring something up.
Mhm.
You know, for me as a woman, a lot of times it's my husband wants to talk about physical intimacy, right? And he'll say, the men are talking about this. Like, how can we have more physical intimacy with our spouses? But they just expect us as men just to go to these communication seminars. Are there women ever out there that are talking about how can they be more physically, you know, available to their husband, you know, things like this, so that you are able to bring this stuff up? That's really important because the survey, Shanti Feldhahn has done a lot of research in this and just basically talks about if you can talk about a subject like sex and
Hmm.
it's comfortable, then
Hmm.
you're going to have success in that area. So, you know, whether it's money, sex, you know, who's working, you're not doing enough chores, parenting, we have disagreements, whatever it is,
Hmm.
the more you cannot talk about it together, the more it's a taboo
Hmm.
subject, the more you're going to wrestle with it. So the first step is just making it okay. Like, let me listen. You know, the Bible tells us in James, be quick to listen and slow to speak and slow to get angry. And I think if
Hmm.
we can do that, just listen. And maybe, you know, the reason we don't want to do this is we don't want to change. If I listen to you now, maybe I
Hmm.
have to change my behavior and I really don't want to do that. So we're going to avoid that. But if we can take that first step, let me just hear you out. And then later, you know, take that next step. Let me try to do something towards relieving that, whatever need you're
Yes.
talking about.
That's great. So, um, how can a couple's priorities get out of order in
Yeah.
their marriage?
So easy, right? This is so easy. So, kids are a big one because when it's just the
Yes.
two of you, then everything's about, oh, you know, the two of you. But when you have children, when you have grandchildren, you have differences, you know. So typically, the wife, the mom, we are going to over nurture, we're going to do more. And the
Hmm.
husband is going to be like, why are you giving that child money? Or, you know, I already told that child to do the chores. Why are you doing the chores for them? You know, so
Hmm.
those kinds of things. And to really realize, oh, wait a minute, we've become really kid centric. And you
Hmm.
want to get to the point that when your kids leave your house, you still have a relationship and a
Right.
marriage. That's the backbone of that. So that is putting marriage in the front seat. And it's something you have
Hmm.
to do on purpose because kids, just by the nature of them needing so many different things, you know,
Right.
they're just loud and maybe there's more than one and their needs are right there, so you meet them. You know,
Yes.
so if your child asks you for something, you run to the store, get it for them, they needed it for school the next day. But if your spouse says, hey honey, could I have 10 minutes, you're like, I don't have 10 minutes for you, dear. So you can do
Right.
those quick tests. Like if your spouse asked you the same thing for help as your kids did, would you as happily do it? That's a good test for me and one I often
Wow.
fail.
That's
Yes.
an excellent
Yes.
point because often when the children leave the home,
Mhm.
Hmm.
then the couple's like, who are you? They're strangers to
Right.
each other.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
true. That's
Yeah.
true. Now, you make the point in the book too that a couple, both individually and together, should continue to grow. And why is that important?
Yes. It's the idea that just like a plant, after a while, it's going to outgrow that little pot that you've got it in, and it will
Hmm.
get root bound unless it grows. And in the same
Right.
way as people, God is so amazing that he's given us all these seasons to live through, right? And to teach us the heart of wisdom, to number our years, so number our days to have a heart of wisdom. And if
Yes.
we just stay the same, well, this is how it's always been
Hmm.
done. What's wrong with this? Why do we have to change this? We've done this all these years, right? So it is this idea of how can we grow? How can we, this is very scriptural, obviously, that we are to grow in grace and grow in the
Yes.
knowledge of the Lord Jesus Christ, grow in our love for one another, grow in the fruits of the Spirit, grow in the Spirit, walk in the Spirit. The Lord doesn't want us just to stay a baby. He says, like, we
Hmm.
want you not just to have this little milk, we want you to have be able to eat meat. So the same
Right.
thing in your marriage, you want to be able to grow. So this looks like maybe, just naturally going through the different seasons of life together from, very maybe your 20s all the way through retirement, through, aging, everything. So that's going to teach you something. But not just repeating the same year over and over again. But
Yes.
Marjorie
Yes.
Blanchard said it this way: what's new on your marriage resume in the last 2 years?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
So
good.
think like, is there a new marriage book we're reading? Are we going to go on a retreat? Maybe we're going to mentor another couple. Maybe we're going to go to a new thing for date night. My husband and I
Yes.
are learning how to do like foxtrot and swing dance. And, we
Oh,
don't know how to
that's
do that, but,
wonderful.
but we're learning and it's helping us grow.
Yes.
And research shows if you are learning new things together, that grows you and bonds you and just helps you to keep being interesting to one another.
Oh,
That's an excellent point. I know when Mel and I were dating, he would plan dates for me,
Yeah.
and then he would just tell me how I should dress. But
I would surprise
he
her.
was right, and
Yes.
so he has continued doing that. I love it,
Ew,
and
Hmm.
that's so
it's keeping it
sweet.
fresh in our
Yeah.
marriage.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I just say, Voncille, we're going out Friday at 7 o'clock, and here's how you should dress. Well, where are we
Oh,
going? I'm
I
not going to tell
love
you.
it.
It's a surprise.
I love that. That's such a
So
good
if it's
idea.
something casual, then he says it's casual. It's a
Yeah,
little formal, then so I'll know how to dress, so I
that's
don't
adorable.
embarrass him.
It's
Oh,
so
yes.
fun.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. Yes,
Yes,
I
yes.
and he continues to do that, which I very much appreciate.
Yeah, we celebrate our 15th wedding anniversary next month, and I'm still
Oh.
surprised dating her.
Oh, I love it so much. Right there. You could end it right there. Just listen to that one sentence over and over again and
Yes,
keep doing that, and your marriage will be easier for the
yes,
Well,
listeners.
thank you. Thank you. Now, decision two, giving thanks every day, how is that impacted by a couple's expectations?
Yeah, so if you've got these expectations, you're scrolling through social media, you say, "Oh, this spouse looks like this. This spouse took the other spouse to this vacation." You need to realize that is a highlight reel. It might not even be real.
Mm,
And to
that's
understand,
a good
I
point.
cannot compare myself to this person's best moment. So we are filled with that, and it fills us with jealousy and with envy and war
mm.
within ourselves of, why, spouse of mine, are you not this perfect person? And so to combat that, I always like to think, well, Arlene, you're not so perfect yourself. So you think you turned that around, and how am I? I want to extend the same grace. So, I want to
Mm.
give to my spouse what I would want for myself. So
Exactly.
coming back to, hey, let's lower our expectations to reality, not something that is made up like a fairy tale. Should you have
Yes.
expectations? Of course you should. As much as you can, that wives, let's try to be lovable. So it's not so hard for our husbands. Husbands, try to be respectable. So it's not so hard for us wives. So obviously you are trying. There is an expectation for what you are to do. However, it has to be rooted in reality and in grace.
Yes, yes. Well, one thing that I have been challenged with that this man has helped me with, if I may say, I've mentioned this before. In the past, I've had issues with forgiveness.
Hmm.
If someone does something to me,
Yeah.
it takes me a while to turn it around, but
Yes.
he can turn it off and turn it on.
Yeah, but I gave you enough practice to
Yeah.
Yes.
teach you how to forgive.
So Yeah, I'm a lot better at it now.
Thank you, dear. You mentioned in the book something very important. You were saying how a spouse extra stuff and even your spouse can't make you happy,
Mhm.
especially happy on the inside. Talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yes, we can. The Bible tells us over and over that we deceive ourselves, right? And so,
Mm,
Yes.
so we can think, oh, if only I lived in that nicer house, then I would be happy.
mm,
If only my spouse would cook this delicious meal for me to be waiting for me every day and my house was clean, then I'd be happy, right? If on a yacht in the Caribbean, then I'd be happy. And the truth is, you might be happy for about 10 minutes and then you'd probably feel about the exact same way. Maybe I'll give you a few hours. Sure, you'll be happy for a few hours, but then you'll feel the exact same way. And so for us to realize that, the Apostle Paul tells us whether I'm rich or poor, whether I abound or I'm abased, I've learned all
hmm
to be content. And this is what we do in marriage, that whether, we make that vow in richer or poorer, in health, in sickness,
Yes.
and to realize that, wait a minute, my happiness level is really a lot more of a decision than it is due to my circumstance. And if I think the certain circumstances are going to fix everything, I am deceiving myself.
Right.
It's really the
Okay.
Lord, right? It is God
Yes,
who
Yes,
is
yes,
ultimately the joy
yes.
giver, not your
yes,
spouse.
Right. Right.
that's right.
Now, decision three is serving your spouse. Tell us how you had to move outside your comfort zone to serve your spouse.
Yes, there are many areas, and the same that he would say to me. One of them is my family loves to ski, snow ski.
Oh,
I tried and I kind of liked it, but then I fell a lot and I've just grown to not like it. So as my family grows in enthusiasm, I grew in fear. And there basically came a time where I had to realize, Arlene, my kids are now 16, 19, and 21.
wow.
Arlene, your children and your husband love skiing. And that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. And you two need to embrace that. And you need to just curl up with a nice book or go to the coffee shop and enjoy yourself. And don't grumble about how we're on this vacation and we're doing this stuff that I don't like. I'm the only one who doesn't like this. And when I was able to say, let me serve my family in this way, like literally, like, let me make you food so that when you come home off the slopes, you have this food. And believe me, this is still, you still kind of in your mind have to recommit to this, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
work at it. But the Lord has blessed that so much and has really shown me that as my kids get older, they're going to get together because we are skiing together because they love it so much. So this is going to be a way, right, for me to see my adult son because he'll come to the ski slope and ski with
Yeah.
us. So I've come to embrace and realize, serving, sometimes the serving is, hey, I'll do that with you, not because I love it, but just because you like it. And I know
Yes.
that may sound like a strange thing, but that's a really great way to serve your spouse.
It's true.
Yes.
For example, my husband loves sci-fi movies, and
Yes.
that I don't, but
Yes.
but I will go with him,
Yes.
even though it's not something I really
I
enjoy.
love it.
Yes.
But
But you like the popcorn.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
true.
But
That'll do it.
seriously, I commend my wife because when I came to her 7 years ago with the idea of living a godly marriage,
Yeah.
it was outside her
Mhm.
comfort zone,
Yes.
but
Yes.
and I remember her saying, "Wow, if it's something you feel the Lord is wanting
Oh,
you to do, I will support you."
that's
And
beautiful.
she's really made a difference
Isn't that
in making.
beautiful? Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Supporting each other's callings and giftings and dreams that's really beautiful.
right.
We just talked about
Okay. So each other's dreams.
that.
I think that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Uh, talk about that.
Yeah, and that is very much a dance because if it's always
Mm,
about just one person's dream, then the other
Yes.
person would be like, we've been doing your dream for the last 40 years. When are
Yes.
we going to get around to my dream? So,
Yes.
so it really is a serving one another. Like, what is on your heart? What has God called you to do? And it's taking turns. So it might be you go to school and I'll work, and now you'll
hmm
go to school and I'll, et cetera. You're taking turns, and probably both of you can't do something really big at the same time. So a lot of times, sometimes you have to take turns because maybe
Right.
financially, or maybe because so someone can be home with the children or something. But I think that whole idea of let me support you, and then the other spouse, coming in turn and saying, okay, we've done this for this many years. Now it's your turn. How can we support you? And just that mutual wanting the best for one another. And then can you imagine the two can go so much further than the one?
Okay.
So you say a couple should pursue health together. Would
Yeah.
you talk about that a little bit, please?
Yes. So, so much of it as we get older is our physical strength, like can we do? And what are we able to do? And so just as much as we can, how can we eat more nutritiously? How can we exercise more? And
Hmm.
usually there's one person out of the two that's more into this than the other, right? So for my
Right.
marriage, my husband is more into this than me, but I understand, like if I eat healthy, I feel better.
Mhm.
So for
Yes.
both of you, in any decade of life as a couple, to say, hey, how can we be healthier together physically? How can we nutritionally get a little bit more nutrition in our diet? Is there something, whether it's walking or weight training or whatever, an activity, biking, something that's active, that's going to be really, really good, not only for your body, but also to have that activity together as a couple.
So does him chasing me around the house count
Yeah,
as
sure. We'll
exercise?
we'll give you that. Why not? That counts for all of them. You're giving thanks, you're serving one another, you're having fun and play by the rules. You've
Yes.
got your own rules about that. So that's great.
Yes, yes. Now, what did you and James do to keep date night interesting?
Yeah. Oh, and believe me, there are ebbs and flows, right? Sometimes this is
Yes,
working.
yes.
Sometimes it's like, oh, we got so busy and it's been months and we didn't plan anything exciting, or we're going to the same thing over and over again. So this is definitely in process. As I said earlier, our new thing has been dancing. So that is it, because it's funny. It's fun. It's social. And then there's a lot of different kinds of dances to try. So that's really kind of been how we have recently spiced up the date night. Is we go to a
Hmm.
dance lesson, like a
Yes.
swing lesson or a salsa lesson, and then we dance after the lesson. And it's been very
Right.
funny and very fun.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
also a theater close by that we, had went to a long time ago, but haven't been maybe for 20 years. And we just went to see a matinee. So it
Hmm.
wasn't too crazy, but it was really fun. So there, just kind of, I have a feeling Melvin is very good at this, the date nights, but just thinking a different cuisine, a different place, getting
Right.
outside, dancing, theater, things like that to keep it fun.
Yeah. He is very good at planning our dates. So love it. You do a great job.
Hey, one final question I want to ask you about preparing for the golden years.
Yes.
What should a couple do, regardless of where they are? What
Yeah.
what should they do real quickly?
Yeah. So I think we've kind of talked about it, having that relationship growing between the husband and wife, not just about the kids,
Hmm.
not just about the career. So when the stage of kids, child raising is over, when maybe you do or don't have grandkids, when your career is over, that you still have this common sweet relationship and a sense of adventure, a sense of
Right.
growth of what can we do next together? What is God calling us to do next together? And this involves
Yes.
like going to church regularly, having those habits in place, going to worship regularly, maybe being in a small group at your church, maybe having core activities. Maybe you like to play tennis together, or you play music together, or you travel, or you do art, or you have pets, whatever it is, and really have those things dialed in before you get older, so that as you're older, you have all these wonderful things to keep you together and
Yes.
to keep you young.
That's great.
Okay, so once again, the book is called Making Marriage Easier. So we thank you, Arlene, and we really appreciate you coming on.
Yes.
Thank you
This,
so much. And you can go to arlenepellicane.com, and there's some bonus things with the book there too.
oh, great. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay, we'll be sure to do that. So, as we like to close,
Living
living
a
a
godly
godly
marriage
marriage
is
is
the
the
best
best
marriage.
marriage.